It is Talking Reds. It is John Gibbons. I'm joined by Neil Atkinson and by Adam Smith, and we are in association with NordVPN. Apologies if those of you who like joining this live, who like giving us comments, who've not been able to get the live stream working today, so we're going old school. It is pre-record. It is not because the topics are too hot for us to go to live, and I'm worried about Adam Smith. I'm generally always worried about Adam Smith. Yeah. So that's just the standard. But no, we could get the technology working. So we are sort of doing a little bit of a pre-record today, but not a bad day for it in terms of the fact that there's no sort of game tonight or anything like that. So we're going to talk about the hot topics that are jumping out from a football point of view. We're going to start with David Coote, because it is still the big story. It's a surprisingly developing story, and then in part two we're going to talk a little bit about the England internationals as well. There's been a bit of a fallout with regard to the number of players who've pulled out, and it might be the earliest that I've seen an England manager been slagged off by our friends in the national media 3 months before he starts. Two. I don't mean to exaggerate, but he sat at home in Germany. There's a theme here, these bloody Germans, but we'll come on to that. But We'll do the David Coote stuff first, Neil, and there's pieces sort of coming out about it all the time. Howard Webb was on mic'd up last night, and they had to bring it up. It would have been ridiculous if he didn't, but he just said they're taking it very seriously and sort of stuff like that. But, I mean, the timing of the whole thing is interesting. We talked on the weekend about, is this someone sitting on it for ages and releasing it at the exact time, or is this just all sorts of a coincidence that it sat on people's phones for a while, then and ended up in a group chat and sort of, ended up sort of going wild. No, I'm not sure either way, and maybe we'll sort of never know. But the worst time to have a storm is certainly during international break.
It absolutely is the worst time for something like this to come out, is during the international break, because it just means it cannot stop.
Yeah. It
cannot be pushed to the back pages by virtue of Manchester United being inept in Europe or something like.
There's nothing Harry Maguire could do to say it.
He looked Harry in the eyes, and Harry went like that.
Not even picking me for England.
No. I think I think that is part of why this isn't going anywhere. I mean, it does feed into the part two thing, and it isn't just for England. Of each of the international breaks so far this year, I've gone, and this is the one that feels like it's the most pointless. And this most definitely does. There is nothing going on really. It is around a Nation League fixtures that no one feels excited about, and obviously from an England point of view, it's about as irrelevant as it's possible to be, which means that David Coote is in real bother, because this is not going anywhere. I'm just all a little bit like, I think that for me the key question is sort of around the entire sort of referee body. Paul Tompkins put something out yesterday analysing a lot of decisions from VAR over an extended period. I've got the ongoing feeling, and there's been a couple of instances so far this season, and there's the overall data on literally Salah, which I think, I wouldn't mind seeing get a bit louder. I did something with Rory yesterday where live on the show I worked out that, I clicked some things on StatsBomb, and it told me that he was 220th-ish most fouled last season. 220th. That's, you stop to think about it for a minute. That's he's
doing a lot of running with the ball.
That's 2011s.
Yeah.
And before you get to Salah. In terms of most fouled, and he was playing for the third most successful side last season, the best attacking team last season, and he was the best attacking team's biggest threat last season. And so much of this, and I think, I've read a piece on The Guardian this morning which is about games which Coote has been involved in, and Liverpool and outcomes, and they picked on the major issues. For me, I mean, if any consistent listener to the Anfield Wrap across the last 18 months or so would know that my issue with the way Liverpool are refereed is not actually necessarily the big moments. I think there's a couple that are especially egregious across the last 18 months, but I feel as though it is stuff like, it's not just Salah, but it's, first half against Crystal Palace on the 5th of October this year. Crystal Palace had supposedly they had not made a foul given by the referee, and we made 11. And that's just not a game of football. If you see what, it's just not a game of football, and it does feel, and that, so the Coote point, I think, and even the really good stuff done by Paul there was doing VAR based decisions and contentious decisions. What I think you see week in, week out, and minute in, minute out, which Paul has also discussed in the past, to be clear, is the stuff around the way in which Salah especially, but Liverpool in general, and I think especially at Anfield, are refereed in what get called the small moments. And I think it's this idea of, I will not be swayed by the crowd, I'm not going to give them this, I'm not going to give them that. And I think that part of that is why the overall thing is, you know, is sheer glee in the fact that whatever day it was he's talking about, Liverpool was shit. The fact that he's gone out afterwards is worth pointing out in this context. What the fella next to him says at the very end. And is this just sort of an example of, I think, a pattern of behaviour towards, I would argue, Liverpool and Everton? I don't think it's just one or the other, because Anfield and Goodison are seen as particularly vociferous grounds with a particularly vociferous personality of people, and you want to stick it back to them and you don't want to be seen to be giving them soft ones. And I want to know if that runs through PGMOL, and no one's asking Howard Webb that.
Well, maybe they are, but we're not hearing it, and maybe they are, and you know, they're not getting answers. And for me, possibly the funniest moment of the whole video is when David Coote calls anyone else arrogant, and I'm like, well, you know, because I think the arrogance that comes from referees generally, and it is sort of right to the top, is frustrating, and it feels to me like for a while there hasn't been a way to have a conversation around, look, I think football clubs should be able to raise, I don't think this referees us great. And I don't think, and you can call it bias, or you can call it a style, or you can say there's been this moment where he now thinks there's going to be swearing in this. It's not my fault, it's David Coote, because I'm going to use sort of his words. There's this situation where he clearly thinks our manager's a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
And what can you sort of do about that, really? Because, you know, people keep talking about it like a workplace. People keep saying, you know, it's just, well, who hasn't called their boss a cunt? Who hasn't called someone in their work a cunt and stuff? But if you're going to go to that, like, if there's people you've got issues with, you facilitate them away from each other, and you just go, okay, if the organisation is big enough, if there's other people, you know what I mean? Like, and it feels like, I feel like the more we moan about certain refs, the more we get them, not the sort of the other way around.
Yeah, I think everyone's called the boss a cunt. I have, and I'm self-employed. So, like, we've all done it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the really funny thing, I think, in all of this is basically no sensible conversations can be had around refereeing. Yeah. Zero sensible conversations, up to and including, I don't believe referees from Manchester support Altrincham. I don't.
Not all
I
of
don't.
them.
No, there's no way that they all support Altrincham and Bury, but they grew up at a time when Manchester United were the most successful club in the world.
And we've all flown from Manchester Airport. Full of walls in Man United.
Exactly, it is. But there's just no way that that's happened, and they've gone, I tell you, I fancy watching Bury. Like, there's just no way. But so we can't have a sensible conversation about things where you go, maybe referees from Manchester shouldn't be allowed to referee teams from Manchester. It's not the world's most controversial thing.
Yeah.
I did some research a while ago, and there's something like 42 referees that referee Premier League matches. There isn't a shortage of them. There are loads of them. It's just that every time you watch, you go, oh, it's another one from Manchester. And also, again, have a sensible conversation about it. People from Manchester are brought up to hate Scousers. Scousers are brought up to hate Mancunians. As we get older, we can all be a little bit more sensible about it. I've got some friends from Manchester. I've got some Manchester United supporting friends. We can have sensible conversations. It's fine. I do not despise them. But generally speaking,
but I won't let you ref them.
Exactly. I should not be allowed to. I shouldn't be allowed to take charge of I shouldn't be doing the review at work. Do you know what I mean? Like that. But that we should just be able to say that's okay. And I think there's been several examples, and it's one of those unfortunate things. Is it coincidence? I don't know. But it's one of those things where Liverpool have been involved in a couple of examples recently where we've jumped the shark. Right? The one last season, the Diaz goal at Tottenham, should have been a moment where everybody got to stop and say, do we need to have a sensible conversation about the PGMOL and refereeing in general? But instead, because Liverpool bad always wins over everything else, it was just a matter of, just get over it, it's fine, mistakes happen in a game. This time, he's called him a cunt and specified German cunt, and loads of other people are going, everyone calls somebody a cunt in their life.
Yeah.
What can we not? How is this not a thing that we're going? Let's talk about it.
I think it's more for me. It's just more that there's like it's a bit of a bants moment, a terrible bants moment, but it also just where it throws open the idea of a bit of disrepute for the wider referee grouping is, well, are they all having certain conversations about anyone? After, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, are they all basically at some point 2 or 3 times a year sat off slagging someone off.
Yeah.
And also in a way that makes you sort of go, well, I'm not sure. And that isn't just, from Liverpool or anywhere else. I've got no shadow of a doubt that it was very, very difficult to work in a refereeing environment with someone like Jurgen Klopp, in the same way that it was evidently difficult to work in a refereeing environment with Alex Ferguson, with Arsene Wenger, with Jose Mourinho. I mean, you literally, the things that you saw during those periods. Same with Klopp. One of the funniest things that's ever happened, I think, in the Premier League is Guardiola rowing with A, the referee, and B, God, about 2 handballs. But he's looking at the fourth official whilst this is happening, you know what I mean? Because this is part of what all this is meant to do and the direction it goes in. I think, within all of that, I think it is important, and this is where the big business stuff does drive you a bit mad. I think it is important for everyone to remember it is a game. And it is a game with someone officiating it. But this throws back to my other wider point, which I always come back to, which is I feel and have felt for a while that there's too many referees now, and that the refereeing community in general goes into games with game plans. Goes into games with, this is how I'm going to manage this one. And they keep, now that they're being exposed more and more, they keep saying stuff every now and again. There was the madness of the Milan game, when I think, was it Clattenburg who was on mic, who basically went, right now I'll just give a soft one to AC Milan to kill the crowd. And there was this long silence, like the commentators didn't know, what do I do with this bit of information, that he's basically just said, I'll just give a soft free kick right now. It was wild. And and as I say, and finally I think whoever the co-commentator was went, I'm almost glad you've admitted that that's what you all do. But the referee, who was a European referee, was just refereeing the game that was in front of him, wasn't given a soft one to quieten the AC Milan, to placate the crowd, without again acknowledging that what that actually does is it gets another facet of the crowd up and going. And this is why, for instance, Liverpool are going to Crystal Palace and not getting anything for an extended period. The whole thing is, the more they're exposed, and this video is a massive example of that exposure. I think that they've made it. There was a period where the referees. When I spoke to Rory for a really good show yesterday, and Rory referred to Jeff Winter's autobiography, and Jeff Winter was roundly mocked for wondering if the Anfield crowds rose as one. But it feels that the refereeing community in general has been getting more and more and more and more and more exposure. And every single time someone says or does something, just one little nugget, there's just one little thing. Like when Mike Dean said, I didn't want to call Anthony Taylor over I didn't want to make a show of him. Felt it'd be a bit harsh. And then afterwards, everyone tried to act like he never said that. That's literally what he said live on the telly. But afterwards, everyone went, "No, that's not really what he meant." It is, he said. But the more that they're exposed, so this is an example of that exposure. And I think what it does, therefore, is it makes you want to say, well, let's have it warts and all, or let's go back to that period where the referee was basically a fella who looked 15 years older than he was, who came from the sort of town referees come from, not fucking Manchester, who came from the sort of town referees come from that you've got to look up on a map. They all appear to be near Torquay in some way, shape or form, and go from there. But I think, this is where the VAR thing is, and that's where media are to blame. And we went through an extended period of the Anfield Wrap, and we're less good at it these days, but we went through an extended period of the Anfield Wrap saying, we're not talking about the referees, because it just sort of felt as though, but we get you people, I hasten to add, saying, why aren't you talking about the referees? So you start talking about the referees a bit more, or the refereeing's doing your head into such an extent, you just sort of break and feel like you got to talk. Or, good process, boys. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it is the main event. It's
the main event, and now this week is a good example of this is now referee main event week. But to Adam's point, and he's absolutely right, this will be seen as at best, and I don't mean at best not the right way to frame it, but the most extreme version of this will become the idea that Coote is in some way, shape or form a bad apple. It won't become, hang on, what are we doing with referees? And it won't even lead to much, to any real sort of mirror being put up to, frankly, in terms of the wider football media. We are one slithered off to one side, but I think we're actually quite good at reflecting on what we do and thinking about what we do. But it certainly won't lead to the wider football media thinking about this. And the people at TNT aren't going, so should we not have Peter Walton or someone else? No one's going to go, should we change policy?
Is Peter Walton not there, though, to try and explain the referees' opinions, or I think they think they're trying to help with Peter Walton. I think Howard Webb's thinking, well, I don't want to fucking do mic'd up with Michael Owen, but I'm going to try and sort of help.
So I think that the addition of Walton has not led to be on things like TNT and Sky, has not led there to be less conversation about referees' decisions at half time and full time. So is it helping? at half-time and full-time, the referee person isn't involved. It then becomes either the manager's talking about it or the pundit's talking about it. So they're still talking about it. So it's not helped.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's helped. So
in the genre of their show, it's not helped.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth pointing out. In the genre of their show, is Howard Webb coming out and talking about things and explaining things? Has it led to less referee chat and more clarity? Or has it just led to more noise? And it's just led to more noise. It's actually centred the referees even more. My argument here is, when I talked to Rory, we sort of ended up in a place where he argued, I'm not 100% sure, but he argued the best thing now could well be that the referees come out post-match themselves and do an immediate post-match interview. And a lot of it would just be saying, well, I thought I saw this and I thought I saw this, and he's right. But that might not be the best way. But as long as there was then almost a quid pro quo agreement with managers and with television, that, well, you don't talk about the referee's spoken now.
Yeah.
So you've got to leave it. Yeah. You've got to leave it. You've all got to leave it now, because we can't ask for any more than this. We've got this bit, and you can just put
I'm
that bit on.
interested in what you could have done, what your players could have done, what you could have done differently as a manager. Don't talk to me about the ref. We'll ask him what he could have done better.
And then he tells us.
Yeah.
And I think that could be. But we've all got. But to Adam's point, and this is why Adam's absolutely spot on. Well, that's me talking to Rory on one show. That conversation's not been had anywhere else. And we're going to get more and more and more and more, and then in 4 years there'll be another either Good Process Boys or David Coote thing, and with a bit of luck it just won't fucking involve us.
I also think part of the problem with the Peter Walton situation, with the Howard Webb situation, is still nobody's telling the truth. Howard Webb last season went on mic'd up and explained to everybody that the reason that Liverpool didn't win a penalty against Manchester City is that Jeremy Doku got the ball. We're watching a video in which Jeremy Doku did not get the ball. Don't gaslight us. Just say the referee made a mistake.
Yeah.
And when Peter Walton's on it, he goes, the reason they're going to overturn this is but X, Y, Z has happened. They don't overturn it. And he goes, that was the right decision. But just say what you actually think. Don't spin some bullshit. Just say, I really think they should have overturned that for the reason I said 5 seconds ago that I'm now pretending I didn't say. Just tell the truth.
I think the truth's a really difficult thing. In the book, in Transformer, I actually discuss an incident that's not to do with Liverpool that happened at the end of last season. Lots of people say VAR's there because people at television like it. This is quite an arse argument, and I think it's completely incorrect. But it's one that gets knocked about. Oh, it's good for the people who are watching at home. It's less good for the crowd. I watched the FA Cup semi-final, and you might remember the incident. City... No, there's a City player. It's Chelsea free kick. City are in the wall's in the penalty area. Chelsea play the free kick. There's a City player. It might have been Foden. It hits his arm up there.
I think it's a Grealish.
Grealish, sorry, hits his arm up there, and it goes out for a goal. It goes out, and Michael Oliver gives a goal kick, and it's going to get checked by VAR. And this goes through this process of being checked by VAR, and because of all the rules around VAR, because ultimately, if there's one thing we know, it's that Michael Oliver does not know it's hit Jack Grealish because he'd give a corner.
Yeah.
He'd give a corner, gives a goal kick. And this thing then happens and it goes all the way through. And it ends up, referee's initial decision stands, goal kick. And you're like, you've just shown me 5 replays.
Yeah, that's the one thing it can't be.
It can't be that. And if I'm all right with it, can't be that, but it can't be that. So to Adam's point on being gaslit, and here it's not someone's come out and said something or done something. The whole process has made reality simply bend to no sense. Now, if I'm just, and this is why the VAR stuff's a problem, if I'm just watching a footy match and that gets given as a goal kick, I'm just like, fucking referee didn't see that, clip the lad there in the wall, but all right. But when we've gone through the process and we're being told there's 2 other people who are watching this in a booth in fucking Stockley fucking Park, they're over there doing this, they're talking to Oliver, they're saying to Oliver, what did you see? And Oliver's saying it went straight out for a goal kick, and they must have to say to him, well, to be honest, Michael, you're not right there.
Yeah.
And then from there, the process is then meant to be, so you didn't see, so therefore Michael's not seen it, and that's fine because people miss stuff. It's fine. All of this in pre-VAR will be absolutely, or pre the focus on refereeing, or both, will be absolutely fine. I didn't think it was a penalty. The lad's hand's about there. It might have been there. It might have been there. It flicks off. Fucking hell, it happens. It's football. Like, I'm quite relaxed. But if there's one thing that the referee should then be able to do is go, sorry, corner ball. And it's the thing that doesn't happen. And I think on all of this, and that's where people are beginning to go madder and madder, is and this was a television thing, so if that was in the ground, I just found that a lot easier to cope with. On TV, I switched over. I was just like, well, what's the point? Because you're literally telling me black's white. Why are we going through this process for me to be told? Like, I really lost my head with it for about 10 minutes. I was like, I can't watch this for a bit. And everyone said, oh yeah, everyone on TV, everyone who watches at home loves VAR. I was like, my head's burned out. And I think that this is part of the, the Odegaard handball. the more it was being shown to the people. So in the ground, I wasn't even that sure what had gone on. Our players seemed a bit pissed off. I'd have shouted for it because I'm a bell end. But in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't have been that bothered. People at home are watching this replay over and over and over and over and over again. And then and in this instance, it was Coote. They then got up with the VAR going, nah, it's fine, that. That's no way to live. That's no way to live. And the whole thing, I think, is just going to drive people mad. And then videos like this don't help. And I think everyone's got to work to find a way to put it back in the box. But like everything else in football, the idea of getting everyone around the table to do that's practically impossible.
Yeah, I mean, how do the PGMOL, how does football, whoever, like, come out of this sort of in a better position? Is that even sort of possible, really? Because you fancy with the FA, with their sort of track record, they'll probably just look to sort of, punish David Coote and then move on from it. The PGML will just try and come out of it as unscathed as possible, you feel, and then it'll be sort of business as usual, and when's the next jolly to Dubai? The Liverpool are in a sort of a probably a slightly difficult situation. They probably sort of don't know what to do about it, and like Neil pointed out before, are just probably hoping it's just someone else next time. Please, and could we just crack on with winning the league if that's sort of all right? And so and then I don't know, the Premier League, God knows, have they even managed to appoint a chief executive yet? And so you're in the situation where you don't have much faith in anyone to go, right, okay, this is maybe the straw that's broke the camel's back in all this. How do we restore faith, in each other? I don't think that's going to happen. But Adam, you're a famously optimistic guy. Sure. You tell me why I'm wrong.
I famously have faith in other people. I'm coming at this from the starting point of, I do not think the PGMOL is fit for purpose. I think it needs to be given a roots branch, or whatever the fuck it's called, overhaul, starting with getting rid of Howard Webb. All I can think with all of this stuff is there's a remarkable similarity between the PGMOL and the Met Police. It's constantly just bad apples. Every time it happens, it's bad apples. And you're like, at some point, you might have to have a look at the fucking orchard, right? You might have to wonder whether there's a problem with everything that's going on everywhere. And I think in some ways, I also think for everybody concerned, they're incredibly lucky that it's happened to Liverpool, because it gets to be Liverpool bad. Because nothing in football is more important than tribalism. Nothing. There's nothing that matters more than tribalism, right?
And nowhere gets tribalism more than Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. No one hates a club more than they hate us. Even City, who are currently going through a process of defending 130 charges of financial misconduct, still don't get the hatred that Liverpool get, because people just go, whatever. So if they're guilty, then they've just cheated, haven't they? So it doesn't matter. Doesn't. Whereas if Liverpool wins something, it's a COVID title. Or if we win it this year and City are docked points, then it'll be, it was the season City got docked points. So everyone hates us. Not to sound too much like Millwall, because I think we do care. Actually, I think a lot of people would like us not to be hated so much. But I said on a Top 6 show I did yesterday, imagine what would have happened if it was Arsenal, given where Arsenal fans are at the moment, where they're reviewing every single match that Arsenal played like it's the Zapruder film on the JFK assassination. Imagine if he'd been saying Mikel Arteta's a cunt. What Arsenal fans would have done, Jesus Christ. There'd have been literal spontaneous combustions around the country. People wondering what's going on. Is there a gas explosion somewhere? No, it's just Arsenal fans watching the footage with David Coote. So I honestly, John, I think nothing changes.
There was a New York Times piece, and it sort of resonated since in other areas in 2016 about American life, which was called "Is Everything Wrestling?" And it was this idea because Trump had done stuff with the WWE and the sort of direction of travel and the discourse of American sort of public life. And I think you can make a really strong... And it was a piece that really resonated. Like, there was another piece in the New Statesman. I've just looked this up here, and it's there. And there's, other bits and pieces of this just comes back as a theme. Like, to understand American public life, you need to understand wrestling. And I think there's a big thing where you can genuinely write the same piece or pull the same comparison to say, is British public life just constantly mirrored by the Premier League? Is British public life just the Premier League? Is everything just football? And I think that if you actually, and it won't stand up in every single area, but it does not feel at times as though you can sort of go through and just draw constant comparisons all over the place. And I think that it's, understanding that and seeing that. And when you begin to see that, you just are a little bit like, oh, so the thing that's meant to be the release from all this bullshit is actually just like a microcosm of loads of the bullshit. I mean, say what you want about wrestling, at least it is genuinely scripted and you can go from there. Not to say, by the way, that the fellas who do it aren't absolutely unbelievable at what they do, because I do genuinely believe that, but it is worth saying that within the football thing, even stuff like, and again, I'm not having a go at him in this instance, but even stuff like Gary Neville knocking around walking through the woods with Keir Starmer, you know what I mean, is everything the Premier League.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit of break from now. I'm not sure we sorted anything, but then I'm not sure the PGMOL are going to sort out anything. I couldn't even say that. Then fuck them. Too many letters. Sort that out as well. We're going to do a little bit of a pause now. We're going to come on to talk a little bit about the England situation. But first of all, I do want to give a shout out to our partners for this run of Talking About NordVPN. I've just been in America and I used the service to its fantasticness.
I could tell you there.
So we got into a situation where we went to Universal for the day, and there's an NBC sports bar, and I was like, that'll do me for the Leverkusen game. So it was 3 o'clock kickoff in America, went round Universal, all lovely, about 3, time for the break, got in there, and then there's 3 Liverpool fans in there, and it's brilliant. And I went over and went, are they showing the Liverpool game? And this lad goes, are you John Gibbons from the Anfield Wrap? And I went, yes, but are they showing the Liverpool game? His head's just shocking. He's on holiday with in Florida, and suddenly there's some lad who he watches on YouTube like this, who's just sort of walked in. I'm like, this is all well and good, but are they showing it? And he went, no. And there's some sort of situation where I think Peacock have got some Champions League games.
Of course. And
so Peacock have got some, NBC have got the others. This was an NBC bar, so they wouldn't even mention Peacock. They were like, who's Peacock? It was all sorts of branded sorts of NBC. So I was like, we're not going to be able to watch it here. So we had Real Madrid getting beat, that was fun. And we had Juventus v Lille, so 2 different games on. And then he said to me, well, if you've got a VPN, it's on Amazon. And I went, I've got the fastest, lad. And I've got the fastest VPN, one of the most secure. And you know what? Because of their fantastic offer, I've got it on 10 devices. And he was like, fuck off. And I said, I have, lad. So I said, I just logged into my VPN, changed my virtual location. I've got Amazon Prime, because it was on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Logged into Amazon Prime, got it up there. I was the hero. People shouting, John, John, John.
From the Anfield Wrap, this fella, it's like your Father Christmas. You got a supernatural power, a gift, some would say.
So we set it up on my brother.
Unbelievable.
We set it up on my brother-in-law's iPad because he brought it in this eventuality, and also I'd only used it so far, I'll be honest, on 6 or 7 devices.
Because who's got 10?
Do you want you to set up for every eventuality? Yeah. The lovely people at NordVPN, and so we got it sort of set up on there. He's on my NordVPN. We've got it on.
And it was a quiet first half as well. So you're doing this. Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
It was fine. It was fine. Sort of setting it all up there. So in the end, we're in this bar. The beer selection, by the way, in the Embassy bar in Universal is spectacular. They got about 20 pumps in there. It's like a proper sports bar. There's 2 tables. We're all watching it together. We're bonding. Do you know what I mean? How long have you been out here and stuff like that? And then this barman comes over. He's chocker. He's like, do you know we've got footy on the telly there? And I'm like, yeah, we're not our game. There's this other service. We don't mention it around here, apparently. And he's like, all right, you just crack on and I'll just bring you drinks. So there you are. So
one of the greatest afternoons that Florida has ever seen.
And then they won 4-0.
I was about to say, yeah. What a second half there you've had with everyone. Yeah. I'm surprised you're not all still out.
well, about 10 minutes to go, your man went, sorry, we've been summoned. We need to get back. And I was like, yeah. So
it was all done and dusted, though.
I know it is. But yeah, it was 4-0. It was if there's ever an excuse to leave a match early, it was that one. They wanted to beat the traffic. So they sort of, went on their way. And we bounced back to Disney Pop Century. I'd had 3 pints of IPA. I barely had a drink all trip, so I was like, we won 4-0. I was absolutely flying. But so that is the kind of afternoon that NordVPN can deliver for you. So go.
It's the greatest endorsement ever.
And that's how I felt. I nearly did it live there and then. I nearly got on a stream. Get me on Facebook Live, I'll do it now. So if you too want to have that afternoon, nordvpn.com/TAW. That's nordvpn.com/TAW. You get 4 months extra. Like I said, you can use it on up to 10 devices. And if you're thinking, I don't need that many, well, you never know. There might be another one that you want to sort of pull it onto. Absolutely there. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So if you're not sure after that long, then you can get your money back. But there we are. We'll do England very quickly. Like I said before.
Well, that's what England's plan is.
Yes. They have managed to... our friends in the tabloid media have managed to turn on Thomas Tuchel already, another German, terrible, who is being blamed for the fact that no one quite fancies these England games, up to including England players. Now, I quite like a mad England team. I'm more likely to watch. I'm seeing all these dropouts thinking, well, Curtis Jones might play it, and that'd be nice for him. He's not yet got an England cap. He's been in squads. He's not yet got your so we might even get a start. So I'm thinking, I'd like to watch some of these, but Tuchel's getting in the neck. I saw Carsley getting in the neck for allegedly picking his mates, and I was like, Lee Carsley's got no mates who are 20. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, come on. So it's like, he's picking his mates. It's like some kid from Southampton, sort of, or whatever, because he liked them for the 21s. But Carsley's getting a bit of stick. The FA are getting a little bit of stick, but obviously the German manager's getting more.
Yeah, he's going to be in for it he's just got to win every game, which feels like it's no way to live. But also there's a chance he does do that because he's got really good players and he's a good manager. But that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to win every game all the way through, and that's the... and also there's a thing there because he's been brought in to replace the fella who I don't think ever genuinely excited anyone, but to be fair to him, he got very deep into a number of tournaments. Like, he won all the games but one on a couple of instances.
I think you're also ignoring the number of people who walked around with waistcoats on when you say he didn't excite
he excited those people.
Weird people in this country.
Yes, everything is football.
And the Tonkin.
Everything is football. Everything is the Premier League. No, I feel as though he is just on a bit of a hiding to nothing until there's the real action. But then I think that's sort of the case for a lot of England managers, full stop. You'll live or die by what happens in a proper tournament. You've got to get there as well, but and if you don't get there, then you're really in for it. But you'll live or die by what happens in a proper tournament. And I just think in general, in practically every tournament that they're going to enter into for the next 6 to 10 years, England are going to have one of the best 4 squads. So they should probably always get certainly to the quarters. I'd argue to the last 4. People who are very into England would end up arguing last 2/win the thing, which I just think is too much to ask on anyone. Manchester City have got have had the best squad for years going into Champions League, and they've only won one of them because it's really hard knockout football. But anyway, that's separate. That's by the by. We want to laugh at this. It just feels like just the most pointless conceivable international break at the minute, and it doesn't help in this country. At least it genuinely feels as though it's some sort of competition to see who can get the most players to pull out. And I think I don't think that's just for us. And I think that this is also a wider Premier League issue, which is I think the toll of all of it and the toll that is to come, and just that everyone now sees it as toll. And if you're Arsenal or if you're Man City, you've had 7 years of toll. If you're Kevin De Bruyne, you're like, fucking hell. When do I not have to go somewhere like Brighton and dig out 3 points? Like, why is this my life still? How's that happened? What decisions have led me to here? And I think that Arsenal have now got 2 seasons of toll in them, and it does take a toll. I think that we're in a slightly different place for a couple of reasons, but even we've got players who are out injured and players who picked up injuries, and I'm sure that if you said to Arne Slot, X or Y is not going away, there'd be somewhere I think he'd say I wouldn't mind them having the game, but there'd be some right now where he'd go, well, that's a bonus. So I think it's difficult at this point for the international community. I just think it then becomes back to, well, what are we doing this for? But then the flip side of that is that if, for instance, someone like me got the way and they didn't play international games in this run, then the answer would end up being, well, you can fit 3 more domestic or European fixtures in there, lads. We can put another tournament in. Have you thought about having 10 games in the Swiss system, not 8?
Yeah.
So
maybe the quarterfinals of the League Cup should be 2 legs as well.
Yeah, exactly. The whole thing, it'd be something from somewhere. Somewhere Richard Masters has gone, game 39. As he has this, you know what I mean? Someone finds a way to put something in that puts some toll on. So it might as well be this. And everyone can have a bit of a mythical break as no one goes. It feels as though the best way the players are going to get a winter break this side of whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of quite possibly. It is a funny situation though with this, and I didn't really understand why Tuchel wasn't starting until January. I tried to look into it just before we started, and the only thing I could think about is he thought the Nations League was shit, or he didn't want to he didn't know the rules, and he thought, I'll just not learn them. If I start when the World Cup qualifiers start, they want me to win the World Cup, let's just start when the World Cup qualifiers start. And if the Nations League Harsley can have that, and then I don't have to understand how it works, and I can sort of get on board with that because I don't know either.
No, and I think it's also one of those things, isn't it, where maybe he's just really strict on like when he's willing to work. So he's like, my hours are 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. And during that time, I'm going to learn all the players' names and have a look at some videos of them and stuff. I'm not sitting down and learning the Conference League World Cup or whatever the fuck it's called. I've got no time for it at all. Like maybe he's just really on that kind of basis of things. Or maybe the people in the FA are just a bit thick. And they just didn't realise that there were international breaks coming up, and they were like, "Yeah, you can start in January. That's fine. And get him in the new year." And someone's gone, there's like 3 international breaks between now and then, and they're like, that was it. That was the answer from the FA.
He's got stuff to do in the house. He's got to find a house. He's got to get it furnished, get the carpets in. That's a job. He's got to move his gear. That's quite complicated. It's hard to do that across borders.
After Brexit as well.
There's more paperwork. There's definitely more paperwork. No getting away from that. So he's got to sort that out. He's just got bits on. Christmas is on the horizon. Where's he doing that? What's the plan? Does he have to do it over here? Will he be judged if not? Is he going to get a good tree? Is he going to film the tree? The tree will be judged.
What colours are on the tree?
Yeah, Jeff Powell will have opinions on his tree. Let's be absolutely crystal clear. Jeff Powell will have opinions on his tree. So it's hard. I'm not saying no one's saying it's easy for the Touche. But he's gonna crack on, touching his head off all the way through. I hope he does all right.
Easily my favourite thing about the David Coote thing is the fact that the FA said absolutely nothing about it for several days, and someone in the office is like, there'll have been somebody going, "Well, we all hate the Germans. He is a cunt," and then someone there will be going, "Why does German ring a bell?" Someone's there's gone, and then
have we got a new starter from Germany?
Yeah,
have we got a new starter?
It's the intern. Where's the intern from? Just the sort of Skegness. No, it's not that. Like there must be something going on, and then they've gone, "We need to release a statement." I've just realised we need to release a statement. It's so good.
Well, let's hope this year at Christmas, everyone pauses on Christmas Day to not slag off German managers, to spirit of the war and stuff like that. All has a pause on Christmas Day, an armistice, if you will, and as a big game of footy. We shall see. If you want to watch England, they're playing Greece tomorrow night. Kostas Shimikas. Greece beat them at Wembley.
Playing?
Ireland at Wembley on Sunday.
Oh, right, okay. I'm not going to watch that.
Well, Ireland aren't great at the best of times, to be honest with you.
No.
So I don't think they'll put up much. But hey, prove me wrong, boys. I don't even know who fucking plays for Ireland anymore. Robbie Keane.
Phil Babb.
Yeah, Ray Houghton's just retired. Unfortunately, they'll miss him. So there we are.
Kelleher.
Yeah, him. Kevin. He's getting picked now, isn't he?
Well, I hope so.
Ahead of that other bum. He's getting his game now. So there we are. So Kelleher, let's all cheer on him. He'll probably be busy on Sunday night at Wembley. So there we go. Okay, huge thanks to Neil and to Adam and to you guys if you have joined us. Apologies again for the live stream if you do enjoy that, but I don't think a pre-record mattered too much today. No games to talk about from a Liverpool point of view at the weekend, of course, but I do want to give a shout out to a couple of things going on at the stadium, including these Legends Q&As that they are doing at the stadium. So you get the full stadium tour, but also if you go on Saturday at 10 o'clock, you get to hear from Steve McMahon as well, which isn't bad. I bet he's got some stories. I don't feel like he does loads, Steve McMahon.
I think it's a bit of a treat. It's a rare treat to get McMahon.
So if you get McMahon, he's going to have some sort of good stories. He played for one of the best Liverpool teams of all time, of course, that 87-88. He was an integral part of that. Played for England as well, of course. And so I'm sure he's got some fantastic stories. The tickets are priced between 30 and 50 quid, which I personally think is really reasonable for the fact that you get the full stadium tour, you get the new museum tour, which is absolutely incredible, and then you get a Q&A with Steve McMahon as well. So that's on Saturday at 10 o'clock. If you want to get tickets for that, go to lfc.tv/tours. That's lfc.tv/tours. If you can't get there on Saturday, they are running every weekend. Coming up, you've got Alan Kennedy and Jimmy Case for the rest of the month as well. But get along to that. But in the meantime, as I say, thanks to Neil, thanks to Adam, thanks to Sam for filming, and NordVPN for partnering with us all the way through to Christmas. Up the Reds.
Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN on the planet and explore the internet without interruption.